In today's video, we're going to talk about the woo-woo and the mystical of breathwork, the universe, and everything in between. So there'll be a few skeptics on this video, no doubt. But what's really interesting about breathwork's become the real hot topic. It's really amongst biohackers and all the science of what's happening with the gas exchange and the sympathetic, parasympathetic, oxygenation of the cells, all the above, which is awesome. I mean, I love reading different studies and seeing what science is indicating is happening within the body. That is awesome. However, there is a much more exciting, in my opinion, aspect to breathwork, and that is its connection to spirit, to oneness, to this energy, this cosmic power, this workings of the universe that created the universe and beyond, which you could call the Tao or the Tao, and talk about that. What's really interesting about all these ancient cultures and the way they understood breath is really they talked about breath as connection to spirit, to connection to oneness, to connection to source. There's very little talk about the benefits biologically or physiologically. Yes, they couldn't measure it to what we can now, but it just really wasn't the focus of the practice. They're kind of the bonus. That's like all the, for me, the magic of breathwork is the mystical, spiritual, and the icing on cake is just all the biological biohacks, I guess, that you get from it. But in avoiding sounding like a kook, a lot of people don't really talk about this nature of the breath. Now, the breath is really linked to qi or prana or mana. If you're in, whether you're Hawaii or from the yogic practice or Eastern Asia, China, whatever it may be, they all understood, different parts of the world, they all understood this life force, this electromagnetic energy beyond oxygen in this blank space that even science has little understanding of what it is and what it entails. You know, I think they only account for like 5% of matter or energy, and the rest is just dead space, which I don't think is accurate. Now, if you look, let's just look at yoga or qigong. The idea is, in a proper yoga practice, is to breathe, a breathing pattern and different pranayama or belly breathing type into the dantian in the East. What were they doing? They were just bringing in and channeling, charging the body with this life force, with this energy, getting it down the meridian lines. And they all understood after the breath, we require movement. The movement is what pushes it through all the organs, the energy lines, the meridian, and it gets you lit up. You could argue that, you know, dance and these types of movements are even more powerful at working with this rhythm of the universe to charge the body. And just try it at home. I mean, if I do a bit of breath and listen to music and just feel the body, I can almost get overstimulated, this high of qi or prana. And you know, the skeptic could say there's some science behind what is happening, which I'm sure there is as well. But this qi flow is moved throughout the body, and then it preps you for meditation. Okay, you're charged with this life force, it's active within the body, the mind is now ready, especially after some physical exhaustion, it is ready to find that blank space, find the nothingness. And this is the real magic of breath work. So when we're breathing, and so there's short-term power of breath in the mystical, and then there's a long-term compound effect. So there's like acute and chronic. So in initial, and you can see this, you know, rebirthing or holotropic breathing, which is just essentially just over breathing for anywhere between 20 minutes to 2 hours. And you will see people often will have emotional breakthroughs or breakdowns or a bit of both, where they heal and cleanse and stuff from the past that's been stuck within potentially the energy of the body, or maybe even the DNA, or who knows beyond, we don't really understand. But it is cleansing this energy. This life force seems to have an intelligence that pushes this through, that heals, that passes it, which is one of the popularities of breath right now. When you kind of deal with what I notice with people in breath is they go through that cleansing, some crying sometimes with long breathing periods. Then they move into this blissful state where they overbreathe and they might get kind of giggly, floaty, this kind of high. I don't think we're just getting high on oxygen here or high in pH of alkalinity. There is something beyond with this intelligence within the body that is happening to this connection to some form of source. So breathing really has those deep, instant, unexplainable to science effects on the body. And when you see this with tens of thousands of people, this all happening to, there is something going on. Science doesn't really understand how this healing happens, there is something mystical and magical about it. Now let's look at the daily practice of breath, where you might breathe for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes a day with some meditation. You are really starting to build your connection to source, to your true nature. You're able to get downloads, messages, and this strengthens your spiritual practice. And again, all these ancient tribes or philosophies, whatever you want to call it, and I wouldn't call them religions at all, they understood that your breath practice over time deepens your connection to your higher self. They're all about living true nature, or yoga, self-actualization. And breath is arguably the biggest component of this practice. So how do you explain, I'm asking you this to think for yourself, is when we breathe and we start to, for thousands of years they've tried and tested this, that as we breathe, we connect with our true nature, our higher self. We're able to get messages, downloads, clarity, guidance. We start to see the same numbers, synchronicities. The right things seem to happen at the right time. And I believe this is because we're all breathing in the same, the science does show we're all breathing in, they say, certain scientists have said, I'll try and get a reference to this, is we're breathing in the same recycled air as Jesus or Buddha. Okay, so there's a little bit of science between it, but we are breathing in and connecting through the breath to source, to all different things. And in my experience under psychedelics, I've really felt that breath in and that breath out is just this connection to all, in, out, this transfer of life, death, connection to all, spirit, matter. There's some magic in it. I don't fully understand it, and if you study the Tao, they say the first rule of the Tao is he who can explain the full Tao is not the real Tao, because it was not the eternal Tao, because it is unexplainable. But there is this magic in the breath. Now, when we look at this use of chi and prana, we can look at movies like Star Wars. Probably, I think it's the greatest grossing film. Well, it's had 1 million of them. It should gross pretty high. But it's, there's a reason we all connect with this movie. And what's probably the most famous line in the movie is, "May the Force be with you." Okay, so what is this force? And if you read about it, various websites talk about it. They talk about this cosmic intelligence energy that we're able to connect through, that guides us, that is able to do inhumane things or hyperhuman activity. And I did watch a video from George Lucas, who wrote Star Wars, who said it was loosely based on not just Taoism or Zen or yoga, it was based on all these ancient understandings of this same concept. So really what he was talking about through this series was, again, connecting with the forces of nature, the forces, these mystical powers that when they run through you, give you this, what appears to be superhuman abilities, and being super sensitive and being able to, you could say shapeshift or change dimensions and whatnot, which is maybe too extreme for this current form of where we're at. But there is a power in this mystical, and it's shown in movies. Neo in the Matrix, in the last scene where he stops the bullets, he does the big breath and is able to stop the bullets. There's lots of symbolism in our favorite movies with these forces, with this connection. And all I do know is you want to connect with it. And I know I've been breathing daily for maybe 2 or 3 years, and I just feel like every month of my life just gets my connection with nature, with others, with oneness, with source, my spiritual connection in general, it strengthens. I feel more connected to things. I feel more guided, the right things, right time, right place. And then the other magic with the breath is the still mind. Now, when you mix the breath and finish with the still mind, you are creating nothingness, empty space, okay? Before we were something, we were nothing, in theory, okay? So we're creating that same life, death. Between breaths is a great time to go into blank space. Breath holds, nothingness, no mind, no desires, no thought. And I've noticed in my life, after these periods, very, very strongly, that like that next week, I've got people calling me to different things, different opportunities all over the world that hadn't called me for months because I hadn't been in that tranquility. So there is a real magic in this tranquil nothingness, in this no mind, in this blank space. And the Taoists understood is when the mind is empty, we've created room for receiving downloads, wisdom, guidance, whether you believe in spirit guides, this divine God of everything, whatever you believe. And I do feel it. and tranquility and finding that breath with nothingness seems to connect with life force, to my best understanding, charge us with energy, get us inspired again, full of this life force. And then we go to no mind. When we're in no mind, we're in this similar vibration to this, maybe this other dimension, I don't know, this spiritual field of chi that maybe we can't measure or see. How does it work as far as dimensions? I don't know. But when we're in this blank space, we do seem to harmonize with the energy that collects all, which I believe is part of this chi, this force. And that's where the real magic of breath, meditation, spirituality lies. I believe this is where we do our best meditation, visualization. I was even watching Shaquille O'Neal the other day. He was talking about the amount of no mind and then visualization they did with Phil Jackson, who coached Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, people that could almost shift reality. And you look at the quote we've got on a wall here, Lao Tzu, "To the mind that is still, the whole world surrenders." What did he mean by that? I think when the mind was still and we connected with the energy of the whole, everything just starts to work together again. But we become so disconnected from our breath. The problem is we breathe so shallowly. We generally breathe very shallow through the chest, little breath holds, creating a sympathetic nervous system, clenching all of our body. And we generally struggle. So let's talk a little bit more about this life force. Where did the Taoists believe that we get it from? Obviously the breath. So most texts will suggest that we get 50% of our chi, our life force that runs through the body, through the breath, sun, nature, grounding, energy. Okay, and we're able to, that's why we go, I spend a lot of time in the ocean, get under the sun, and just breathe and soak up this life force. Gives me this energy, this wisdom, this connection to Tao, connection to all people, all things. Life just seems to work better. We get the other half of this life force, we're meant to get it, through our food, through our fruit, vegetables, and our water. Okay, the problem with both of these is, let's look at the left. No one breathes properly. We breathe very shallow, not into the belly, no full breath. So we've got, think of the heart, the lungs, when you bring your belly into it, is 3 engines pushing chi throughout the body. So when we breathe fully through the belly and clench a little bit, we're pushing that chi. We've got an engine pushing it through the heart and lungs, and the chi is pumping. The problem is we take little shallow breaths like this, talk too fast like I am right now, and the chi, just not much happens. So we're just lacking energy, lacking life. Then we go to food. We get our chi from live foods, high vibration foods, organic, fresh fruits, vegetables, anything that come from the ground, through nature, through the sun, the soil, through the chi and the oxygen in the air. When we're eating that, we're high in chi, we're high in energy, we're high in life force. The problem is not many people eat high chi food. Most of the fruit and vegetables is all destroyed. The soil is so poor quality, so there's no chi come through, or limited chi. We cook it, process it, and we wonder why we have no energy. The water we drink is generally highly polluted as well, which destroys the structure of the water and absorption of that as well. So you can see why people, A, have no energy, because this chi, this life force, gives us an energy, but it's also our connection to wisdom, to God, to each other. So you can see why we're so disconnected spiritually from each other, from our higher self, from our soul, and we've got no energy because we don't meet any of the understandings that they figured out several thousand years ago. So, in saying all of that, how do we want to increase that connection to whole, to have manifestations work, to have the right things all happen at the right time, with the right people, the right places? We breathe, we slow down, we find no mind, we get in nature, stillness, healthier food, real diet. And when you are just charging with this energy, this life force, it's very infectious. People are going to be gravitating towards you a lot more strongly because you've got that look in your eye, you've got that energy about you where everyone else is quite dull. And what is scary, if the higher forces or powers do know this, and we've been living with masks and indoors in separation, division, you've got to ask, why is meditation and breath and all these things not taught in schools, and why is the world the way it is? People are a lot easier to control and consume. We're just consumers at the end of the day. We're not just consumers. We basically just live to consume a lot of people, and that consuming creates a financial line up through, you get the picture. Topic for another day that we won't maybe not go into today. But that's my little woo-woo video on chi, on prana, on life force. I believe the flow of life, when we connect with nature and the forces, like think of the seasons as a basic example, the tides, the moon, the sun, day and night. When we connect with this force and breathe and have that connection, the magic of life beyond just what we can measure starts to unfold, and the mystical to me is pretty magical, it's pretty exciting, and I think there's a lot more to learn in this space as well. For myself, in my practice, so I'm still on my journey of the mystical as well, but I do see, you know, great people that do have deep connections to spirit. They seem to have an edge. They seem to have something about them that just carries them and pushes them and guides them beyond what the person stuck in the system of science and quite robotic has. I know if you give me a choice which one to follow, I know I'm choosing the mystical and the magical beyond the boring, the mundane of just what science can measure at this point in time. Enjoy your day, evening, wherever you are in the world, and as always, feel free to jump in on the conversation in the comments if you're watching on the tube. Have a great day.